race to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Nashville.
The suit is in the building.
Acknowledge me.
Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe live today, St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans training camp continues. Hope you're having a great start to your Monday. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase out here. Ladarius is here. Nick Frazier is back at the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Good morning, Nick. How are you?
Good morning. Doing pretty good. Just recovering from a little bit of arms are kind of dead from putting in an oven yesterday. But other than that, we're doing good.
That does not sound fun.
No, it was not fun at all. It was quite heavy. But we are here live and well at the station.
Were you putting an oven in for you, or was this like a job you were working?
No, it was for my house. It ended up kicking the bucket. It wouldn't turn on, and I was like, all right, I guess it's time to get another oven. So my dad and I put it in, and it was just chaos.
See, I just hire people for that, but, more power to you that you did it on your own.
There you go. Your little elbow grease won't hurt.
No doubt about that. Yes, we are live. Titans training camp once again today, and excited to be here for that and all of our training camp coverage presented by the Simmons Bank Open, Parman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic. So appreciate them for coming on board. They did practice over the weekend. Heard once again from DeAndre Hopkins, kind of how he's getting settled in. And I got to tell you, I went on a show this morning, on a national show, talking about the Titans to preview them, and D-Hop kept coming up. And I said, look, that's one of the reasons why you do a move like that, because people are going to be talking about your team. And DeAndre Hopkins brings just another level to this Titans team, and you've seen it already. I mean, he's been here for a week, and when you watch him in these practices, some of the catches that he's made, he made a sideline catch on Friday, I guess it was, that had everybody just going, that's the guy. That's why he is the guy. So, there's more of that, and he just seems to be getting more and more comfortable with each day. Also is comfortable with everything going on with the other receivers and Ryan Tannehill. So that's certainly important, and want to see that out of him. So as they continue, I think it's going to be interesting to watch number 10 out there today. A lot of different storylines to get into with the Titans, but first, let's begin with the Pulse.
Bringing you Nashville's most trending topic.
You can make some noise for that.
It's the Pulse.
The band.
Now with Chase McCabe.
So you got to love a good war of words, and that's exactly what has happened here. Last week, Sean Payton, now the head coach of the Denver Broncos, had done an interview with USA Today, and he kind of took some shots at former Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Now he's the offensive coordinator with the New York Jets. He even took some shots at the Jets. Didn't go after Aaron Rodgers per se, but just, kind of stirred it up. Well, Aaron Rodgers has since responded. Here was the Jets quarterback, which I'm still getting used to, on Sean Payton's comments.
I'm not going to ask you about Sean Payton's comments directly, but I will ask you to maybe address Nathaniel Hackett as a coach and what he means to you and what he can bring to this Jets team. That story goes out there. I had about 1 million texts from people in the coaching community saying that was out of line. Yet you see Hackett out here, he's still pumped up. I don't think it affects him as much as maybe it affects everyone on the outside, and yet you and him have this great bond and union together where you've always had his back, he's always had yours.
Yeah, I love Nathaniel Hackett, and those comments were very surprising. For a coach to do that to another coach. My love for Hack goes deep. We had some great years together in Green Bay, kept in touch. Love him and his family. He's an incredible family man, incredible dad. And on the field, he's arguably my favorite coach I've ever had in the NFL. Just his approach to it, how he makes it fun, how he cares about the guys, just how he goes about his business with respect, with leadership, with honesty, with integrity. And it made me feel bad that someone who's accomplished a lot in the league is that insecure that they have to take another man down to set themselves up for some sort of easy fall if it doesn't go well for that team this year. Thought it was way out of line and inappropriate, and I think he needs to keep my coach's names out of his mouth.
So pulling a little Will Smith there is Aaron Rodgers. Keep his coach's name out of your mouth. When we talked about this last week, I said, okay, I got no problem with a little trash talking and things like that. Now, maybe he did cross the line or toe the line or however you want to look at it. It did seem, Sean Payton's a fiery guy, but it did seem a little out of character for him to do that. But Aaron Rodgers taking exception to it. Now the thing is, the pressure's on Payton, which I think was part of his plan, that he was trying to pull some pressure off of Russell Wilson. But now you got to back it up. Now the Broncos have to do something, and I don't think a lot of people expect them to do a whole lot. In that division, obviously you have Kansas City that you have to deal with. The Chargers have a lot of pressure on them. Their coach, their quarterback just got paid a lot of money. So obviously they got to do something. The Raiders bringing in Jimmy Garoppolo, I think Josh McDaniels is probably on the hot seat. And then you got the Broncos. So that's an interesting division with some intrigue. But if you're gonna talk the talk, you got to walk the walk and you got to back it up, and we will see if that is the case. But Aaron Rodgers going to his OC's aid, and the thing about Hackett, he did a terrible job as the head coach of the Broncos. Let's just be honest. He was not head coach material. And I think the only reason he's been a successful offensive coordinator is because he's had Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't change the fact that Aaron Rodgers has a lot of admiration and respect for him. So he had his OC's back on that for sure. Moving ahead, baseball, trade deadline. It is here. It's this afternoon, right? Yeah, it's
tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Okay, August. I can never remember if it's July 31st or August 1st. I think it kind of changes, but it is approaching. Let's just put it that way. And so we have seen a lot of movement, with the MLB trade deadline. But it'll be 5 o'clock tomorrow, 5 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. And there was a big trade over the weekend with Max Scherzer, who had signed that big deal with the Mets. He now finds himself to the Rangers. Tim Kurkjian of ESPN commented on this move.
Whenever you go into a season having won 101, you're supposed to be in the race for the division title, and you're selling a future Hall of Fame pitcher at the trade deadline, that's not good. And now the biggest question maybe is, are they going to sell Justin Verlander next? I'm not quite sure where that's headed, but should be an interesting day.
That was Tim Kurkjian of ESPN. And, here's my thing, that, the Mets are saying they're not having a fire sale, even though they just made a big trade, and now Verlander's name is out there, and whether they end up dealing him or not, we shall see. But the Scherzer deal is interesting because I think the Rangers finding themselves where they are, I like them. I like them in the American League. And I think that they could certainly make some noise as they have a game lead over Houston. Now, would it shock me if Houston overtook them? No, but I still think the Rangers make the playoffs and could do something. And if they can bolster up their pitching staff like they've tried to do here, that'll only help them. Now, the question is, can Max Scherzer be Max Scherzer, or have we kind of seen the end of Max Scherzer as an elite pitcher? Time will tell, but I'll be curious to see that and what other moves may take place before the trade deadline tomorrow. But my Atlanta Braves still find themselves atop the NL East, 11.5 game lead over the Miami Marlins. And yes, Nick Frazier, I'm feeling pretty good about that.
I bet you are. The Cardinals they're doing their own little fire sale that Mosaic said he wasn't.
Cardinals are not very good.
No, they said they were not going to do a rebuild. And, you give away Jordan Hicks to Toronto and Montgomery as well. And it's all in shambles in St. Louis right now.
And now our last item, which will carry over into the next segment. What is going on with Jonathan Taylor and the Colts? There was a report last night that he reported to camp with back pain, that was not a football injury, and so the Colts are considering putting him on the non-football injury list, which would mean he didn't get paid. And then that's on top of he and Jim Irsay met last week, and then it came out that he had requested a trade. It is a bleep show right now in Indianapolis when it comes to Jonathan Taylor. Here was Bob Kravitz, a longtime Colts reporter, on the situation.
The only person who can fix it is Chris Ballard, because right now there are no adults in the room. Between there really aren't. I mean, between Jim Irsay and Malky Kawa, who's the agent, one of the agents for Jonathan Taylor, neither one of them is covering themselves in glory by taking shots at one another on Twitter. Jim was typically weird last night when we talked to him up in Westfield at training camp. But he's made it very clear he's not going to trade him. So, the Colts, like it or not, the Colts are holding all the cards, because if Jonathan Taylor refuses to play and takes that fine, $40,000, $50,000 a day, he loses an accrued year.
That was Bob Kravitz, longtime Colts reporter, talking about this situation. And, yeah, Chris Ballard is going to have to be the one to step in, because you got the owner and the agent going back and forth with each other on Twitter, or X, or whatever the hell we're calling it these days. And they, that's not going to solve anything. So where is this going? And I have this question. Could Derrick Henry become more of an advocate for the running back position than maybe we think? Because I got to be honest, I like how he's handled this. We'll discuss that next. You can weigh in on anything that we are talking about today at 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk to Jason Fitz at the bottom of the hour. I look forward to catching up with him, getting his thoughts on the NFL, and then our weekly visit with Jonathan Hutton from Outkick at 10:30 today. It's Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Green right, box 2 run, double catch. He takes you inside the huddle through the eyes of a quarterback.
Wide 85, take!
Catch ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck every Tuesday at noon as he breaks down the big stories in the NFL.
Buffalo, maybe Miami.
And with the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans might be like, we're interested in a 1-year, $1 million contract.
Tim Hasselbeck is on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
My student organization was suspended from campus for criticizing the Chinese government. We knew our free speech rights were being violated. That's why we teamed up with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. FIRE launched a full-scale campaign. They talked to the media, sent letters to the school's president, and put billboards up around campus telling our story. That's what FIRE does. They defend everyone's right to free speech. Defend free speech at thefire.org.
Paid for by thefire.org.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA Diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA Diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys, with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA Diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats. All shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable. But for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
Check, check. You might already know about the Acura MDX. V6 engine, seat 7. We have an announcement. We swapped that engine with a specially made 3-liter turbo V6, race-tuned the steering and suspension, and for the first time, added Type S performance to an SUV. So we're just gonna drop this right here. The Acura MDX and first ever MDX Type S. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Experience the thrill at Gary Force Acura, proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators. TennesseeAcura.com.
In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. And this month at Cromwell Media, we want to highlight a few people who are celebrating their anniversaries with us. Morning show producer on 102.5 The Game, Nick Keyser, is celebrating 2 years. 102.9 The Buzz hosts, Eric Steele and Andy Herring, are celebrating 9 years. Sports producer Kenny Adams is celebrating 11 years. And Derek Mason, one of the greatest receivers in Titans history, is celebrating his anniversary with us on 102.5 The Game as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
All the big plays.
Rebound, fly out in front, and Saros covers it up.
All the big stories.
Andrew Burnett reportedly hired as the next head coach of the Predators.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Comparing goalies to running backs.
46-27 Vanderbilt.
Does this group of players need one?
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go.
You're listening to Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
So did you guys come away with like anything that can be actionable, anything that you guys can do to help change it or make this better?
I think it's just putting our message out there, revisiting the subject throughout the season, keeping track of guys, trying to help each other as much as possible. I thought that was a great start, having that Zoom call and having dialogue and guys speaking to the media, being outspoken on how they feel and about everything and seeing the situation. So I think it's a start, but I think what we did is headed in the right direction.
That was Titans running back Derrick Henry last week, talking about the running back summit, the Zoom call that they had. Back here, Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, live at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park for Titans training camp. Practice will get underway here shortly. Got some players that are already jogging out on the field as they get ready to go for this practice session. Our coverage presented by Simmons Bank Open, Parman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. And it's going to be interesting because I do believe the pads are on. It looks like the pads are on today. So I'm still not used to these guys wearing the helmets with like the pad on top of the helmet, which I think is a good thing. It's obviously for player safety, but I'm still just not used to seeing it. So certainly interesting. But the running back market conversation is picking up because Jonathan Taylor now, I mean, it's already picked up, but Jonathan Taylor now reportedly is asking for a trade. 3 years in the National Football League for Taylor. Now, last year, he only played 11 games. We know that he dealt with the injury. But in those 11 games, on 192 carries, he had 861 yards and 4 touchdowns. Okay, that's not too shabby for not being in there for a full season. He played 15 games his rookie year, had 1169 for 11 touchdowns. Year 2 was by far his best year, 332, 1811, 18 touchdowns. So, I mean, I get it. He deserves another contract. But unfortunately, as we've discussed, he's not going to get the contract that he covets, that he's looking for, because of the way the market is currently set for running backs. And we had Rand Carthon on the show last week. He spoke to the media. I saw him speak at a Rotary Club event, and he talked about the running back market. He played the position, so it obviously is near and dear to him. His dad coached the position, but he even said, look, the market dictates what the price is right now, and this is what the market is dictating. And so that's just kind of where they're at. So what does this mean moving forward for Jonathan Taylor and the Colts? Randy Mueller, who's a former executive, was on a podcast, and he talked about how a general manager should handle the Jonathan Taylor trade requests.
There's two things when you're a GM you have to recognize. One is your evaluation.
and two, your valuation. And they are completely different angles. And you've got a capped department that you lean on. You have a lot of numbers that are analytically inclined, but you also have the job of a team builder and making your locker room happy. And in the end, I really care about the locker room. I want to know who is bothered by what and when, and can we make that better? And that's the rub in this case. Everybody knows that Taylor is a really good player and really helps us, but you've got to kind of straddle the line of, does this allow us to build the team around him so that we have a chance? It's a struggle every day for a GM in the NFL. That's
Randy Mueller talking about what a GM should do in the Jonathan Taylor situation. And he made an interesting comment that you got to do, what's best for the locker room. And I just feel like less and less teams are looking at it that way. I mean, there's, cap guys that every team has. The Titans have a few here that they're just looking at the numbers. They're looking at how it affects the cap. They're looking at how they can manipulate the cap to make things work. And it's not as much about the player and the person as it is the position and the ROI. And that is what I think is so tough in this situation. I go back to Kevin Byard. We made such a big deal about Kevin Byard being asked to take a pay cut because of who he is. We're making that big deal based on who Kevin Byard is as the player and the person, and not as much about the production on the field. The production is important, and we know what the production is. And I think the same can be said for Derrick Henry and the argument there of, what he's worth, because what he can do on the field. That pops out at you. But then the person and the player inside the locker room, and, does he deserve something for that? I'd say the answer is yes, but the problem is the market doesn't dictate that. Texter on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, Wes in Clarksville. I think this is interesting. The JT situation now would have been the AJ situation if he wouldn't have gotten traded by J-Rob. I think that's a really interesting statement because if you read the tea leaves, I kind of feel like the Titans felt like that's where it was going, and that's ultimately why they went ahead and traded him. That's based on things I've seen. That's based on conversations I've had with people. I mean, there was one conversation I had with somebody that pretty much told me that. So, but was it too soon? Could they have gotten through it? And then there was this narrative that, he was that way, which I've talked to players that said he was not. He's like the best teammate that you would ever have, which I tend to believe. But, he deserved a new contract. He got a new contract. But had he held it out a little, not held out, but had he, played one more year, could he have gotten more? I mean, I think you can make an argument now that based on what AJ's been able to do in 1 year in Philadelphia, he's underpaid. But I think that's certainly interesting. But that also shows you the difference between wide receivers and running backs. I think it was Austin Eckler that said he couldn't believe that there are backup receivers that are making more money than him. And that's the truth. But that's the market. And the market, unfortunately, is dictating all of this right now, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. I think it's wrong. I think running backs deserve to get more. But how can, Derrick Henry be one of the advocates for that position? Mike Vrabel, and, he played in the NFL, but he didn't play the position. Now he's a head coach. So it is kind of, I don't know how much he can really add to it, but he was asked last week about running back pay. Here was Vrabel on that subject.
How much does the running back still matter in the NFL?
I mean, I think it's a valuable position. I mean, every week we look and see what matchups are and who we're playing. And, I mean, there's a lot of dynamic running backs in the league. And everybody can choose to pay their employees what they want to pay them. And, that I'll leave it at that. But there's plenty of good backs in this league, really good backs.
Sorry, would you say the contract you guys gave Derrick a couple of years ago kind of is a sort of an argument against people who say you should never?
Nope, that's an argument for or what. It's based on, everything we want to do around here is about what we're going to do in the future and not for past performance. It's got to be based on what the production or the value is going to be going forward. So, I don't know if that's a case for or against. It's everything's
the word would be a case for.
Right. Yep. And I think everything is a case by case situation. I'm not really sure what we're asking me, to comment on. It's not. This is everybody has a certain amount to spend each and every year, and they can choose to spend it however they want.
That was Mike Vrabel on the running back market and the price for running backs. And, look, I get it. It's tough for the head coach to comment on that because the head coach is not the one making the contract. However, I think we all realize and recognize that he has more say when it comes to personnel situations, not necessarily the contract. He's going to let other people figure that out. But he's a little more involved in it than he has been in the past is what I'm saying. And so that's why it's coming up with him. We'll ask Jason Fitz about this. I mean, there is a texter that, and look, this is going to be an argument. Say $1 million athletes complaining about extra millions of dollars, LOL. All of us everyday workers making $60 to $100K a year just wish these athletes would play for the team that drafts them regardless of the money. It's ruining sports. Look, we can have that argument, and there are going to be people, and you're entitled to your opinion, that are going to say that. Like, you don't want to hear millionaires complaining. But come on, I mean, it got to that point because how we consume sports, and it became $1 billion industry. And so if it's becoming $1 billion industry, the players that made it $1 billion industry deserve to get a piece of that pie. And so, yeah, you're right. I would love to be making millions of dollars, and I'm not. But they have that opportunity, and they deserve it, and they deserve to get the best they can out of it. We'll ask Jason Fitz his thoughts on this. He's going to join us coming up next. Chase McCabe live today from Titans training camp, and that is presented by the Simmons Bank Open, Parman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If it's important to Nashville,
I'll put it out right now.
It's important to Jared Stillman.
Like, that's it.
He's not afraid to ask the tough questions.
Something is going on, and the question is, what does it mean?
Or give the strong opinion.
And just needed the bozo offensive coordinator to stop ruining the quarterback.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I've been on this program now for almost 3 months, and I have blown past the 20-pound mark. I absolutely love the way I feel, and I love the way I look. I was at a wedding over the weekend, and I just kept getting compliments about, man, you look great. And honestly, a lot of it is because of how hard I've been focused with my coaching at PhD Weight Loss. That's right. Coach Rachel's done a fantastic job of making this program easy for me to understand and allowing me to feel a sense of control when it comes to my weight loss. And you can do it yourself. It's simple. Go to myphdweightloss.com to check it out and learn about the program. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of that program, PhD will guarantee that they will coach you for free until you do. That's right. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, and they are online at myphdweightloss.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. 3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Hello, whoever it is going to be.
You want to weigh in on anything that we're talking about on today's show? Hit us up on our phone and text line at 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Live today, Titans training camp presented by the Simmons Bank Open, Parman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic. Excited to talk to our next guest, our pal, and for those of you that have listened to this station for a long time, you remember him as one half of our morning show way back when. Jason Fitz is on the line with us. Fitzy, what's up, my friend?
Man, just living the dream. I'm not living the sitting at practice dream. You getting out there getting some reps in? I need this for you, Chase. Just get out there and just let them know how it's done.
Well, they put the pads on today for the first time, so I'm sure everybody's going to be in a great mood. So if I got some reps in and got hit, it would hurt. I know that.
Yeah, wait till it's shorts, buddy. Shorts for you, but, skip pad day for sure.
Yeah, and they're on the far practice field, so even though I'm here, it's kind of hard to see everything. But it's still cool to be here nonetheless. I want to start with this whole running back situation in the NFL, and you obviously know Derrick Henry and what he means to the Titans and what he's meant to Nashville, and he got his contract a few years ago, but you can certainly make the argument that he's underpaid just based on who he is and what he does. Now you have this situation with Jonathan Taylor reportedly asking for a trade from the Colts. You got the agent and Jim Irsay going back and forth with each other on Twitter. What do you make of the Taylor situation, and does he have a legitimate gripe to get a new contract extension or trade it to a team that'll give him that?
Well, yes, he has a gripe because he's great at what he does. But realistically, to the latter point of what you just said, I don't know that you can now, as a running back, bank on being traded anywhere that's going to pay you. There's just no need for most teams to pay the position. And, you mentioned Derrick Henry, you mentioned Jonathan Taylor. I'll add Josh Jacobs and my beloved Raiders to the list. What do all of them have in common? Last year, they were all very good. At times, they've all been dominant. And how has that resulted in any of their teams winning a Super Bowl? If you're the team, the metric is constantly going to be, hey, when's the last great, well-paid, high-drafted running back that went in and single-handedly won a Super Bowl? Unfortunately, by nature of the position, you need help from the offensive line. You need to have a good quarterback situation. All of these things play into it. So as good as these guys are and as talented as they are, nothing changes the fact that the analytics, the data, the numbers, they say don't pay the position, and that feels icky, but the team is right to take that stand and the player's right to fight against it. There's no easy resolution.
Jason Fitz is with us. A texter a few minutes ago said that the Taylor situation would have been the A.J. Brown situation with the Titans had the Titans not traded him. Now, obviously, that's different. Wide receiver and running back, we know that wide receiver is a premium position and they make a premium number. But do you agree with that it could have gotten to that point with A.J. Brown?
Yeah, I think, there's a spot in all of these negotiations where it just gets ugly and it gets personal. And once it gets ugly and personal in a public way, I don't think you can walk it back. And this is one thing from all the years of covering the NHL. The weirdest part of mediation in the NHL and Major League Baseball is that by very nature, you're sitting right in front of the person you're not willing to pay and you're telling them why. That's such an awkward, tough to walk back thing. When you've got Jim Irsay and the Colts going to social media to handle this, the reason most teams stay out of the fray is because you just don't want the relationship to die long term. Now that it's gotten this vocal, I don't think you can can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. with that. The unfortunate thing for Jonathan Taylor, and I think I understand why he wants to get traded now. Let's get ahead of it, find somebody that will pay me today since nobody's getting paid. But the uglier this gets, the more it actually devalues him on the trade market too, because teams know that the Colts are stuck, which makes it less incentive-laden for the Colts to trade him. You know what I mean? So, unfortunately, this got ugly. It fractures the relationship, and there's no easy resolution because of how public it is.
Jason Fitz with us, and I believe that we're getting the setup for a celebrity match at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia between Sean Payton, head coach of the Broncos, and maybe a handicap match with Aaron Rodgers and Nathaniel Hackett of the Jets. I mean, there's war of words, there's trash talking, but Sean Payton just went unleashed last week in a interview with USA Today where he was talking about the Nathaniel Hackett error in Denver, and now Aaron Rodgers is taking exception to it. Do you think this was a wise move by Payton to kind of start this, or was it designed to take pressure off of Russell Wilson and put it on him?
Yeah, I don't think it was a smart move, and I don't think anything takes pressure off of Russell Wilson. Here's the thing. In my mind, I think that right now in the AFC, the Broncos are the most overrated team in the entire conference, maybe the entire league, because of Sean Payton. It's not that he's not great, but I don't care whether we're talking about John Gruden or Joe Gibbs. When legendary coaches come back and they try and do something in the league, what does it always take? A couple of minutes to figure out what your culture is going to be, right? So I can hear it in my mind right now where it's Sean Payton's going to need a couple of years to establish the Sean Payton way, but Russell Wilson isn't Drew Brees, not only in style, but also in amenability with the coach. Pete Carroll was a very good coach, and Russell Wilson didn't want anything to do with that. So we think that suddenly he's going to turn around and, eat a little, take a little egg on his face, eat a little crow here and walk that back. I don't think so. So, Sean Payton's coming in with this bravado that so many coaches come in with when they come back into the league. But just like we now constantly debate Belichick and Brady, we're going to get a quick answer on Payton without Drew Brees. I don't know that I'd be talking this much talk before I had a second to realize what the rest of the AFC looks like if I'm Coach Payton.
Well, and I look at the AFC East and with the Jets in particular. I mean, do you think that the Jets with Rodgers and they're hosting Dalvin Cook, all these things, what they could be, are they the team to beat in that division, or is it still Buffalo? And what are Miami and New England at this point?
Yeah, so you mentioned Buffalo, and I was on with Stillman a few weeks ago, and he flippantly said he's out on the Bills. I don't understand. Last year, Buffalo took a step back. Josh Allen wasn't as efficient. He seemed to turn the ball over stupidly. It wasn't the cleanest year for them, and they still won 13 games. We're suddenly presuming the Bills are going to take this catastrophic drop back. They had injuries last year also, so I'm still really high on Buffalo. I think this is a year where Buffalo is a Super Bowl contender, and I think they win the East without a doubt to me. The question becomes, is Tua healthy? We all know that. If Tua's healthy, Miami's the second-best team. I think the Jets are going to be fighting for a wild card spot, and in the AFC this year, you're going to have to be really stinking good to get a wild card spot. It feels like not only a good team, but you're going to have to find a way to 10 wins to get into this conversation. There's so many good ones out there. I think the Jets could actually be a fringe playoff team, even though they're very good, but they're going to have to play a brutal schedule. They're going to have to go through the East, and Buffalo is still far better than all. Buffalo is like Kansas City. This is just like last year where everybody wanted to doubt Kansas City, and all they did was Kansas City to get. The Bills are going to be one of the top two teams in the AFC this year.
So talking to Jason Fitz, the NFC North is a division that I'm intrigued by simply because I can't figure it out. That, the Vikings have kind of been hanging around there. Green Bay, what's Jordan Love? We have no idea. And then Detroit, I think, is everybody's sexy pick because Dan Campbell and what they did last year and almost making the playoffs. And then who knows about the Bears? How do you view that division and what might happen?
The funny thing is, if you just take the brands out of all of it, then it's clearly the Lions division to lose, right? It's theirs. Yeah. It's theirs. It's wrapped up. I just can't take the brands out of it. I want to, but, man, it's still the Lions. Jordan Love is going to be under so much pressure from the minute he comes in, and we're going to find out a lot about LaFleur in this situation without, an Aaron Rodgers to have there. So the Vikings seem to be quietly trying to rebuild a bunch of their roster. So I think they realized that last year, better to be lucky than good. Last year, they were kissed by the football gods. I don't think they were as good as their record last year based on the way they won some of those wild games. So I don't think you can replicate that year in and year out. So I think the Lions have a very, if not now, then when? If the Lions can't win the North this year, then the Lions should just find a different division because they're never going to win it, right? Like, this is the weirdest North we've ever seen other than Detroit. So you're right, Detroit's the sexy pick, but I don't think that's because people believe in Detroit. I think it's because they don't believe in anybody else in the division.
So as we get into the season, you know, it's never too early for mock drafts. Caleb Williams right now is everybody's consensus number 1 overall pick. So what team stands out to you that might be the one that a few weeks into the season they realize, okay, we're not very good, and they start the tank and the pursuit of Caleb Williams?
Yeah, no, that's going to be Arizona. There's no, like, I cannot say this loud enough. I don't think anybody is going to be able to outstink Arizona this year, even without tanking. I think Arizona understands that they are in this whole thing for Drake May, for Caleb Williams, not Drake May, he'd be the other quarterback. But also, Arizona has a very good chance of getting a high pick from Houston. So, like, the concept of tanking this year to get Caleb Williams, the reason Drake May's on my mind is I keep telling people, watch Drake May this year, because unless you're a Cardinals fan, you don't have a shot at Caleb Williams. They could not win a game this year, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. And I think the organization would be okay with that. So, frankly, I don't think anybody in there thinks they're even trying to be competitive this year. So the Cardinals will have the first pick in the first draft. I don't think, even if you tried to stink, I don't think you can outstink them. So everybody might just want to start getting ready for second best.
You know what's crazy is they just paid Kyler Murray, you know, a few years ago, and we went through this whole thing with his contract and the language in the contract and all of that. And now we're sitting here talking about that they're going to suck and get another quarterback. It just shows you the NFL truly stands for not for long.
Well, and just let's think about this. U2 years ago said that it took them 3 records to figure out who they were as a band, right? It took them 3 full records. And Bono made the comment, nowadays you don't even get 3 singles in music. The NFL is the same way. It used to be let's go ahead and draft him, let's develop him, let's see what he looks like as a quarterback, let's give him 3, 4, 5 years to be the best he can be. And now, even if you get paid a year later, new regime comes in and says, not really feeling it. Like, Kyler Murray is going to get traded somewhere else. Somebody else is going to have to figure it out. And then there will be a conversation about him being like a reclamation project, which is crazy because he's never really stunk. It's just that, you know, he gets paid a ton of money for the Cardinals. They want to reset that. So you're right. Kyler Murray next year is going to end up somewhere and starting and trying to prove something to the entire league.
You view things from a national perspective, but also Nashville. We claim you for sure. What is kind of your thoughts on the Titans now that they've added DeAndre Hopkins? They still have Henry, Ryan Tannehill going into this season. How do you view them?
I think the national media hasn't watched any Titans football. I said this even when I worked for ESPN, so it's not post-ESPN. I think some of the takes on the Titans right now are just absolute hot garbage. They are always a competitive football team. They lost some games last year down to the wire that I think they should have won. I know everybody's sold on the Jags. I think here's the thing to me. You got to win the South to make the playoffs. I don't think there's going to be a wild card spot available in this division. So you got to win the division. But DeAndre Hopkins is a huge addition. I still think that Ryan Tannehill is a good enough quarterback to win these sorts of games. To me, they pattern in as a 9-8 sort of team. Can that get them the division? It's going to depend on what happens with the Jags. But 1 or 2 things break the right way for the Titans. They win the division. I would be stunned if the Titans end up where everybody keeps saying they will, which is in the bottom third of the NFL this year. There's too many players on the roster that are too good. The coach is too good. The system is too good. They are too competitive as a team. I think they're a heck of a lot closer to winning their division than they are to being in the basement of the league where ESPN constantly projects them.
He is Jason Fitz. And, Fitzy, I haven't had a chance to talk to you. So what is next for you? Are you still trying to figure that out?
I am days away from being able to make a huge announcement about what's next, but I can't make it yet. So, just working out the details, but really, and I say this, I've said this to all my friends off the record, I've said it on the record, so thankful for what ESPN gave me and the platform they gave me. It's been wild to talk to people in media that are like, hey, I don't really know about your music background. Tell me about that. You remember when I was trying to get the whole world to realize that I could do this for a living. Yeah. So ESPN gave me that legitimacy, gave me that platform. gave me some of my best friends in the world. I love that place. I have nothing but love for them. But I am excited, that my phone rang almost immediately from somebody that was equally in love with me as I am with them. So, I'm really excited to get to work.
Well, I look forward to seeing that announcement, and look forward to seeing you soon, my friend. Thanks so much for doing
Appreciate you, brother.
this.
Thanks, brother. Have a good one.
You too. Jason Fitz joining us here on the show. Always appreciate our conversations with him. You can also hear him every Wednesday afternoon with Jared Stillman as he stops by and talks a lot of different topics. Coming up next, we've talked a lot about the offense. Let's talk about the defense and the pass rush. Next, Chase McCabe, live today, Titans training camp, presented by Simmons Bank Open, Parman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Traylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, we are changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. Right now, when you use the promo code CHASE, you'll score up to $250 with their first bet bonus, win or lose. Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 simply by using my name, Chase, in the promo code, CHASE. It is that simple. And they got everything under the sun. Obviously, baseball in full swing right now. Trade deadline is tomorrow as teams make a pursuit for the postseason. But they even got lines up for week 1 of the NFL. Titans a 3-point dog on the road against New Orleans. You can get that. They can separate it with Tennessee teams. They have over under 7.5 wins for the Titans this year. You can check it out on the Superbook Sports app. And again, download that app, enter the promo code CHASE, and you'll get that $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey guys, it's Mike with the Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville. Are you ready to change up your commute? Do you need a more exciting daily drive? It's time to try going rogue with us. The Nissan Rogue is one of the most popular Nissans for a reason. The crossover has enough space for your family and all their suitcases for that final summer road trip you need to fit in before the summer is over. And then we all have to get back to reality. And this month, we're ready to help you go rogue by offering the best prices possible. Bring any offer you've heard around the Nashville area to us, and we'll do our best to match it or offer you a better deal than anyone else. You can even start looking for your Rogue on our website. Perfect your payment options using Newton FastPass, all before you step foot on our lot. Visit NewtonNissanSouth.com to start shopping. We're here to help you go rogue with the friendliest team who always provides 5-star service. Let us help you find the Rogue meant just for you today.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Get a great deal on select Kubota equipment, the #1 rated tractor brand for durability and owner experience in the U.S. The versatile lineup is built to help you make the most of your land. Right now at participating dealers, get a Kubota compact tractor for 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, plus save up to $800 on qualifying implements. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimers for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
You're listening to Chase McCabe.
He did not want to rehearse, and he wanted to leave as soon as possible.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I know you always talk about how much pride you have in being top-notch against the run, but as a front, making the pass defense better, how much is that something that you want to do?
It's big, man. We talked about it the other day. I mean, each and every year since I've been here, we've been top in the run game. Like first last year, yard per game last year first. It's about now. It's like how can we get to the quarterback and affect the quarterback more? And we know, I mean, of course, like teams gonna try to run the ball, but we know this is a passing lead. And the thing about it, you know, we had the sacks. I can't remember exactly how many we had last year, but we had the sacks. But how many forced fumbles we had? The quarterbacks fumble the ball the most out of anybody on the field. They have the ball 100% of the time of the snap. So I think that the goal is to affect the quarterback, get to the quarterback, but also get the ball off the quarterback because, like I said, they fumble the ball the most.
That was Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons, obviously a huge part of this defensive front. And he got paid like it this offseason. He deserves it. Back here, Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3. The Game, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park for Titans training camp today. And Jeffrey Simmons is the cog in the machine that is that pass rush. And you talk about, I use this phrase a lot, but you talk about guys with chips on their shoulder. Big Jeff has a chip on his shoulder. He hated that he was hurt last year. He played through the pain, got after it best he could, but he hated the fact that he couldn't be 100%. You know, he talked at the end of the season, got emotional, that he was getting shot up every week basically, you know, for an injury. And to go out there, and he loved being with his teammates. He could have very easily shut it down. Now that you have a healthy Jeffrey Simmons and a guy that is just determined, that is going to be even more dangerous, I think, for the Titans pass rush this year. And Danico Autry is a part of that, obviously. Tier Tart being part of that front is a part of it. Now you've added Arden Key. You got Harold Landry back. And Landry's fired up, pissed off for greatness. And it all starts up front, and then it trickles back. And that's how you get to where I think the Titans' secondary will even be improved. And, you know, I just feel like this defense is going to be able to carry the water this year, and that's what needs to happen, and that's going to take some pressure off the offense. And they put the pads on today. They're on the far practice field, but I'm kind of watching some of the drills. Pads are popping. The intensity has picked up a little bit as guys, you know, fighting for the ball, and that's what you expect, you know, when the pads go on. And Mike Vrabel talked about on Saturday, I believe it was, getting the pass rush and the pass defense having success before they put the pads on and what that can mean.
How do you weigh pass rush success or pass block success before you're in pads?
I mean, I think you can kind of try to see, you know, technique and, you know, whether guys are getting overextended or, you know, what the, you know, width of the pocket may look like. And, you know, those are things that we're continuing to improve on. And then, you know, once pads are in, is just trying to make sure that the interior's building a depth and sitting there so that the quarterbacks, and you hear me yelling to the quarterbacks too, step up in a pocket. If we got a pocket, you know, we have to be able to use it. You know, you see these edge rushers in this league, it's hard. You know, if you overset them, you know, they take a step inside and then the play's blown up. So, you know, we have to protect inside out. We got to be able to run them by, and in order to run them by, you got to be able to step up, and you have to have a pocket to step up into.
That was Mike Vrabel on Saturday. And so, you know, I don't know how much translation there is. He kind of explained it there, that there will be some. But now that the pads are on, that's when you start to get an idea of, okay, what's worked so far? What have these guys learned so far? Now, they're still, you know, not going to go full bore. I think today you'll probably see a little more intensity because it's the first practice with pads on. And so you want guys to show out a little bit. But at the same time, you don't want to overextend yourself. He used that word. Who's getting overextended? You don't want that this early in training camp. You want to come out of training camp healthy, especially with your key players. But putting the pads on certainly gives you a better idea of where things are at when it comes to this team right now. Coming up next, we will get back into the offense and the wide receivers and what to expect out of the wide receiver room this year. But right now, we have your chance to win single-day passes to the Bourbon and Beyond Festival in Louisville, Kentucky. That's Thursday, September 14th through Sunday, September 17th. Just text in the keyword Friday, Friday, our favorite day of the week, to 615-737-1025 for your chance to win a pair of passes to the Friday show featuring the Killers, Duran Duran, and more. Text Friday to 615-737-1025 right now. We're live today, Titans Training Camp, presented by Simmons Bank Open, Parman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture, eat strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Genesis Diamonds is opening up the vault with our largest GIA Diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all our GIA Diamond engagement rings will be marked down 20%.
That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings.
These remarkable savings are on every GIA Diamond engagement ring, from a half carat to 20 carats. All shapes too. Rounds, ovals, radiant cuts, cushion cuts, pear shapes, emerald cuts, princess cuts.
Remember, all Genesis diamonds are hand-picked, come straight from the diamond cutters, and are graded by the GIA, the most prestigious gem lab in the world.
At Genesis, our everyday prices are unbeatable. But for this event, we're taking value to a whole new level with an additional 20% savings.
Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. Buy like a dealer buys.
Starting Saturday for a limited time, exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Limit 1 per customer, please. Green Hills and Cool Springs. See store for details.
All of us at 102.5 and 106.3 The Game want to recognize our active military, veterans, first responders, and educators with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. The Tennessee Titans are back out on the practice field at St. Thomas Sports Park for training camp this morning. And defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons weighed in on getting the pads back on starting practice this week.
I'm excited for pads. Heard D-Hop say we ain't pads yet. I've messed with him on the field, but things just get more competitive. I would say since I've been playing the game of football, guys be happy when the pads come on, but we know how the outcome be sometimes. So.
And according to Jordan Schultz, free agent Shelby Harris is visiting the Cleveland Browns today. The 9-year veteran has had stops with the Seahawks, Broncos, and Raiders to this point. And Josh Palekos became the first Major League Baseball player to hit a walk-off home run in extra innings on his birthday since Alex Rodriguez hit a grand slam in the 10th inning back in 2002 versus the Athletics. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stone Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Rebound on the score. Make every play perfect. Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Nashville.
The suit is in the building.
Acknowledge me.
Are you ready? Ready? This is Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase McCabe live today, Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, Titans training camp here on 1025, 1063 The Game. Our thanks to the Simmons Bank Open, Perman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic for helping us with our coverage for training camp. The team is on the field right now in different groups. Got the O-line down one way, the D-line down one way, receivers, DBs. I'm sitting here watching the kickers and the punters, which, I'll be honest, that's important because I've been worried about kicker. So Ryan Stonehouse still kicking it to the moon with his big leg. But, the hang time that guy gets is unbelievable. But, as he continues to work on his aim, his control, but I still think the Titans have found their punter for the next several years now. Can Caleb Shudak get the job as the kicker for the next several years, or is it Trey Wolf? And what's interesting is, watching these guys, as Shudak is kind of a short guy, and Wolf is long and lanky. So two different sizes there for the kicker, but we'll see how that battle shakes out. One thing we do know is we like the battle at wide receiver because of DeAndre Hopkins, adding him to the fray. But I continue to be excited about Traylon Burks. And Traylon Burks was on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace on Friday. A fantastic interview. If you missed it, just go to thegamenashville.com. I always am intrigued when a young receiver sits down with Derek because you can just tell that there's that respect there. And, they try and take something away from it. It's not just us, taking something away from it. It's on them as well. But Burks talked about the biggest difference for him going from year one to year two.
Traylon Burks looks huge. I just don't know if I just don't remember you being this big. Maybe I need to reacclimate myself back to practice. What have you been doing in the offseason? You look much bigger, much stronger, much more confident this year.
I would just say taking care of my body, eating healthier. Being here at the facility is the main thing. You can go all the way out to Miami or wherever, but doing the workouts here that we're going to do in the off season and just getting ahead on it just makes a big difference. And also just gets my body prepared for it. So
you feel more confident this year?
100%.
From what?
For everything. I just say, there's no stress on anything. Learning, playing, just wherever they put me is where I'm going to play.
Now, Traylon, first I want to say congratulations. You got married this
yes,
summer.
Sir. Appreciate
Congratulations to you. And then also, you spoke briefly to Caroline, the things that, how you feel much better the second year. And that's the part that a lot of people don't understand.
Right.
Take us a little bit through your first year because that first year is a blur for you.
Right.
You just finished up with a college season. You're getting yourself prepared for the combine. Then you're getting yourself prepared for all of these visits to different teams. So you never really got a chance to really work out the way you wanted to. So just take us through that whole process.
I would just say, man, it started off with ending the season in college. And then, right after I ended the season, I didn't play in the bowl game. So I went straight into combine training. And, it's different from being in combine training shape and then also football shape. When I was at the Exos in Texas, we was just working on 40s, making sure that I had my body right, eating healthier. And then, I got to the combine, did the combine, and then after the combine, it was full-on visits. And I had almost 35, almost every team in the league I went to visit, so I never got to train. You know, the only thing I got to do was just run on a treadmill, like in the hotels. So, and that's not really going to help you. I mean, it'll keep your wind up, but for the most part, getting out here running on the field. And so I would say when I got here, I was not in football shape. Mentally, I was not mentally prepared for it. Just coming in from being in the offense to where, you know, I'm getting the signal from the sideline. I'm not in the huddle. And then coming to an offense where I'm in the huddle, going through learning the full concept, you know, instead of just reading the signals from, you know, my OC's hands. And so, you know, it took a toll. But I would just say closer to the end of the season, you know, I started progressing, understanding, you know, what I needed to do to fix those things. And then it just made me want to do more come the next offseason. So I did that, and, you know, here I am.
That was Traylon Burks Friday on Caroline Willie and D-Mace. The biggest difference in year one and year two. And I'll say this. I've watched him because, I mean, there are guys you come in here when you get the opportunity to watch practice, and you're going to key in towards some guys. Traylon was one of them. I've watched him. Now I've heard him. I've seen him interact with Ryan Tannehill. I've seen him interact with Rob Moore, with Tim Kelly, with DeAndre Hopkins. I see a different guy. I see confidence. I hear confidence. I hear an NFL receiver that can play at a top level. And that gets me really excited because they need that. I mean, everybody's talking about D-Hop, and rightfully so. They should. He's right now, I mean, borderline Hall of Fame receiver, probably going to be a Hall of Fame receiver. And so that's a big addition. But Traylon Burks, you just kind of get that silent assassin mentality from him of like, okay, all right, yeah, create a little competition in-house. Watch what I can do. You're about to see it. I mean, he talked more in the interview about the concussion and just the frustration of being hurt last year and missing some time. I get all that. Now I think he's going to use that as motivation moving forward, and that's going to help him this season. So ultimately I think that helps the wide receiver room, that you have the top two guys, and then that's just going to create, you know, hunger behind them with Kyle Phillips, with Racey McMath, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Chris Moore. You know, Mike Vrabel talked about Chris Moore the other day and saying that he wished he had him a few years ago, that he loves what he's brought to the room. That's good. The competition within is going to make this receiver room maybe a little bit better than people thought that they were going to be. And then I mentioned DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has been here a week and is already looking like, you know, the veteran that he is, but looking like somebody that has been involved with the Titans for a lot longer. He talked on Saturday about the communication and timing process now that he's had with his quarterback, Ryan Tannehill.
And Ryan have wasted no time trying to get on the same page with each other. How is that communication and that timing process gone so far?
You know, it's what I would say is our third day of throwing, so obviously there's things we need to work on. We've clicked a lot more than we haven't, so that's good as well.
Music to my ears. That's what I want to hear. And that right there, when people ask about, okay, what is Ryan Tannehill, the fact that it's worked for him, that he's getting on the same page quicker with a guy like Hopkins, says just as much about him as it does about Hopkins and what he brings. I think it's huge that they're getting on the same page as early as they are. And even though it's 3 days, and I love the fact, too, that Hop is not getting too high, not getting too low. It's one of my favorite sayings. Don't get too high, don't get too low. It's 3 days. But I think you're seeing it already. You're seeing that those two have just gotten together, and it looks like they played together for a while, and they're speaking the same language. And then at the same time, Traylon Burks is learning from that and picking up on things too. I mentioned the conversations that Burks and Hopkins have been having, and that, you know, I love seeing that. Burks, in the interview on Friday with Caroline Willie and D-Mace, talked about D-Hop's influence on him.
Good for you. You made the right decision for yourself. Take care of your people.
Right.
Traylon Burks is with us. What does D-Hop bring to the wide receiver room?
Confidence. Really everything. He just shows you, like, just be yourself. That's the main thing. Being yourself, just going out and having fun. And it shows, him going up, making plays, and, coming back, doing it again. It just shows that he's just having fun doing what he loves to do. And just saying that just makes you want all to do the same. So.
In media, we call this talking season. It's just.
That was Traylon Burks during Caroline Willie and D-Mace on Friday. But that influence is certainly paying off already. You can tell. You can hear it. I mean, you can see it more than you can hear it. And that's why one of the many reasons why I wanted the Titans to make that signing, and I think as time goes along, you're going to see it even more. Let's go to the phone, 615-737-1025. If you want to weigh in on what we're talking about, whether it's Traylon Burks or D-Hop or the defense with Jeffrey Simmons, you can do that on our phone or our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam is on the line from Portland. What's up?
Hey, Chase, buddy. Hey, I got a few things, man. Number one, I think the Jeffrey Simmons interview, I've been so bored, so it just gets me so fired up to think like, yeah, that dude's ready. Like, he's going to – I don't think there's a more important player in the AFC South. Honestly, I think he is the most important player to this football team. I think he's the most important player in the division. I know people they like to just stay all over Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sold like that. I need to see a rinse and repeat before I buy into that guy. But I think he's fantastic. I think that interview from Friday with Traylon Burks was awesome. I think people need to keep this in mind, Chase, and I'm not saying give him a job, but Malik Willis went through the exact same thing that Traylon Burks just went through. He's a rookie. He had a lot of expectations. The season did not go the way he wanted to, and he looks better the second year. So maybe it's not coincidence that people are saying Malik looks a little bit better too. But I just thought it was a great interview, and I'm excited to see that wide receiver group.
Yeah, I am too. Thanks for the call, Adam. Appreciate it. And to his point on Jeffrey Simmons, I mean, Jeffrey Simmons is the most important player on the Titans. I mean, no offense to anybody else, but he has taken that title away from Derrick Henry. And I think everybody knows that because the defense is going to have to carry the water, especially early in the year. Now, if the offense can get clicking and we can see them do more under Tim Kelly than they did under Todd Downing, then maybe that narrative changes. But right now, the defense is carrying the water for this team. Coming up next, watching some of the battles between the wide receivers and the DBs, what do we make about that? And Christian Fulton, where are we at on him right now? We'll discuss that next. Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
All this week, tune in for the keyword to text into the game text line at 615-737-1025 for your chance to win a pair of single-day passes to Bourbon and Beyond in Louisville, Kentucky, September 14th through the 21st. Artists performing include Bruno Mars, the Black Keys, the Killers, Brandi Carlile, and more. Again, listen for the keyword all this week. Here on 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Hey, are you seeking relief? Maybe you just want to enhance your day or night. Did you know there are legal THC products available right here in Tennessee? Yeah, really. You can have legal THC products shipped directly to the comfort of your home. Yes, comfort in cannabis is only a website away. Visit greentreescompany.com. That's Green Trees with a Z, and change your life today.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You want to know how to get better rates, better coverage, and better service on your home and auto insurance? Work with Zander Insurance. I know it's a big promise, but this team delivers. They've been around for almost 100 years and have earned the privilege of representing dozens of insurance companies so they can shop, compare, and find you the best options available. More options mean more savings, and in many cases, better coverage. But it doesn't stop there. Each year, they review your coverage to make sure your rates stay competitive. Nobody else does that. And when it comes to service, just check out their ratings. Xander is one of the top agencies in the industry, and they earned that spot with their commitment to making sure their clients are taken care of like family. That's what sets them apart. Go to Xander.com for quick online quotes or call 800-356-1780 for that personal touch that you've been missing.
This is Chase McCabe.
Good to meet you. You know why it's good to meet me? Because I'm smart and I'm right.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
As a coach, Mike, how do you evaluate when these one-on-one drills with the DBs and the receivers out here? How do you evaluate that? What specifically are you looking for?
Well, I mean, I think obviously trying to be as tight in coverage as you can. You know, we play some off, we play some press, and you know, the route craft. Are we able to you know, set up routes and be able to stem and make sure that there's, you know, good releases versus press, and you know, then contested throws, contested catches. You know, like to stay up, but also making sure guys aren't grabbing. You know, when guys are breaking, sometimes, you know, you tell the guy, hey, play outside leverage. You know, they run an inward breaking route which would be a linebacker in there, and everybody's hooting and hollering. It's like, probably not going to throw it, but great. So I think it's just a good way to get a lot of reps in a short amount of time that we wouldn't get probably in 7-on-7.
That was Mike Vrabel talking about the battles, the one-on-one battles between the wide receivers and the DBs, and there's some going on the far field right now. And generally when I hear hollering and see jumping around, that usually means the defense made a big play, and I think that is what took place. But this is probably my favorite part, because I think if you're breaking things down between, you know, important positions, obviously the wide receiver and getting production out of that, it's going to be the DBs, because if there's a weak point on the defense right now, it's the secondary. And so I think a lot of that starts with Christian Fulton. Christian Fulton actually going to join Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace after practice today, so really looking forward to hearing that conversation, because he's going into a contract year. And he's quite frankly got to show more, I think, if he wants to stay on this team. He's never played a full season. He's battled injuries. And so you certainly got to see more out of him in the coming weeks and in training camp and in the season than we've seen, you know, in the past. And so the hope is he's going to be a productive corner for this team and step up and help make this secondary even better. But Roger McCreary in his second year, what can he bring? You know, they've added Sean Murphy-Bunting. They signed him as a free agent. He's a 5-year veteran. I know everything on him has been pretty good to this point, because he's going to have to certainly add some production for the secondary. And then, you know, looking at the safeties, that is, I mean, been one of the higher points for them with Kevin Byard. But, you know, can Amani Hooker stay healthy? He's somebody that's battled injuries. And so when you look at these one-on-one battles, I mean, it's kind of ironic that it's like, okay, there's some guys that stand out to you and there's some guys that you have faith in, but then there's question marks. And a lot of teams could say that, but, you know, with cornerback or the secondary and wide receivers, that's where the Titans are right now, and certainly want to see more in that situation. I mentioned Christian Fulton. Mike Vrabel was asked about his cornerback on Saturday.
Camp.
It looked like Christian Fulton had a pretty solid day today. What do you think about what he was able to put on?
Again, just trying to stay consistent and, you know, be good in the multiple coverages that we're asking him to play. And, you know, again, just his physical to me, he just, you know, and again, there were times last year early on, just from his rehab and things that he was going through, he just looks, physically he looks better. Physically he looks, I saw him this morning at breakfast. I said, you know, we at your weight, you know, we're monitoring that. And those are things, you know, we have guys that have different problems than the head coach. They have trouble, you know, keeping weight on. And so, you know, we monitor that and making sure that after these hot days that they're eating, and Lauren and Frank and Todd are on top of that. So, you know, that's part of, you know, I think Christian, just his overall strength and his size, that he can be, 195 pounds and still be, athletic and still be able to run and transition. So, so far so good.
That was Mike Vrabel and Christian Fulton. And, I find that interesting that physically, he's looking better, according to Mike Vrabel. I wish I had that problem. Like, I think Vrabel was kind of insinuating, too, that, he keeps weight on. He wants Christian to be able to do that. But so I can relate. But I think if Fulton is looking better physically, he's got to be feeling better physically, and that is going to certainly help his situation this year, because there just has to be more. And at times I don't think it's ability. I think it's been his body getting in the way. And Vrabel mentioned last year the soft tissue injuries and being a repeat offender on that, and working through that. You can tell by looking at Fulton that he's put in the extra work to try and get to a better place physically, and that's ultimately going to help him stay on the field and perform on the field. So he's a key part of this secondary, and not a guy that's going to get a ton of interceptions. He's got 4 in his career. He only had 1 last year. But, I want to see him breaking up passes. I want to see him, getting tackles. He had 48 combo tackles, 35 solo tackles. That was up, career high for him last year. But there's more. There's got to be more, because you're hoping that you're going to get more games out of him. And, I also wonder what Roger McCreary in his second year, we talk about competition from within. I think that Roger McCreary continues to add that. Elijah Molden. Now, Elijah's played – we've seen in the past he's played a little corner, a little safety. Can certainly be versatile there. Shaheem Carter has been brought in, as a guy that can certainly, add to the competition. They just need depth when it comes to corner in the secondary. And so I'm curious, are they going to carry 5 or 6? Special teams, how does that factor in? But ultimately for me, and I love that Chris Jackson, is in the fray as well, because I think Chris Jackson is a versatile player that has done some nice things for them in the past. And that's what they need. They need versatility and they need depth when it comes to the secondary. Because if they can do that, and you see this competition, with the receivers, when they get into the joint practices with the Vikings and the Patriots, again, that's when you're going to be able to learn a little bit more about both of these groups that we're talking about, and how they're going to be able to perform. But it's early in the process. You have to trust the process. Whatever cliche you want to use, and I think that's kind of where they're at right now. 615-737-1025. It's kind of your take on Christian Fulton and this year for him. I'd be curious of what everybody thinks about that, because, as I've said, I got to see more. I got to see more before, and I didn't like the fact that he was here, but he wasn't out there much during OTAs and minicamp. He's been out here during training camp, which is certainly good to see. But, I want to see more out of Christian Fulton for the Titans. What do you think? 615-737-1025 as practice is ongoing right now. And I'm kind of reading through Twitter or X, and things getting a little bit chippy out there as the pads are on. And that's what you want to see. I mean, I don't think Mike Vrabel wants to see full-on fisticuffs, but he likes seeing guys get after it. He was a high-intensity player when he played. You want to see some of that. It's hot. It's not as hot as it has been, which is nice, but you want to see a little bit of chippiness, because that's competition, and that shows you that these both sides are getting after it. On a Monday at training camp, and so. Whether it's competition from the quarterbacks, competition from the receivers, the DBs, the linebackers, what have you, if it gets a little chippy, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. 615-737-1025. That is our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll talk to Jonathan Hutton here in a few minutes from Outkick, get his thoughts on the first week of training camp and some observations that he has had. I mean, I'll definitely ask him about Christian Fulton and kind of what's next for him, as he will join us. But right now, the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, hard to believe that it is this week. It is this weekend in our city. I was out and about They got the catch fences up. Going to be closing roads later this week for the track. You can tune in for driver interviews. We'll have a few drivers on with us this week leading up to the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. That's all presented by Lincoln Tech's NADC and the Nashville Sheriff. Big Machine Music City Grand Prix will be 3 days of racing, 3 days of music, and one huge weekend event. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event this Friday through Sunday. Coming up next, we'll talk to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, weekdays 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. We'll do that next. Here at Chase McCabe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes it's good to be loud.
This is the NFL.
Especially when you're Jared Stillman.
That's where we are.
He's not afraid to say what's on his mind each and every day.
That was embarrassing. I don't care if you're a rookie. That was embarrassing.
Stillman and Company. Weekdays at 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
Hey, Tennessee! We're Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in town. We listen to your feedback on our competitors, so we designed Zen Sports just the way you wish. Set favorites, search and sort bets, and earn real cash rewards, saving you time and money with every bet you make. Find the bets you want, not those distracting bets that seem too good to be true but rarely are. Best of all, withdraw your winnings in under 24 hours. So take control of your bets, because with Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up and in Tennessee to bet.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It's the latest social networking thingy.
We are all over social media. Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game. You can follow me at Chase on Game. Also on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville and at The Chase McCabe. See, aren't we cool?
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Chase McCabe Show rolls on live today. Titans training camp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Our coverage presented by the Simmons Bank Open, Permanent Energy, and Caudill Vet Clinic here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Watching practice from afar. They're on the far field, but kind of keeping up with some things. Ryan Tannehill, they're doing 7-on-7s in the red zone right now. TD putting out there. Tannehill opened up with 3 straight completions, starting with Traylon Burks across the middle. Then Sean Murphy bunting picked him off. I guess that was the big scream that we heard. Paul Kaharski said Will Levis had 3 very good touchdown throws in a row to the middle of the end zone in red zone 7-on-7. It's 3 versus 3. So those drills ongoing right now. We say hello to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick, Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, weekdays 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. What's up, Hut? How are you?
Good morning, Chase. Hope things are well out at practice. Mondays are my meetings morning, so I'm not out there today, but can't wait to get back out there after what was a fun weekend.
Yeah, and I want to start with a guy in particular, in Christian Fulton, and just the expectations for him this year, because I feel like there's a lot more that we need to see out of Fulton. He's never played a full season in his career. He's dealt with injuries. Mike Vrabel's talked about that. He's talked about that. Vrabel said on Saturday he thought he had a good day and he was impressed with how he's looking physically. But when you look at Christian Fulton, what else do you need to see out of him?
Well, just consistency. And you're right about the physicality. He looks different, right? Like the never played a full season. That's the next big step. Some things are out of his control, out of a player's control when it comes to injuries. Other things are not. And the soft tissue aspect, I think, there was a little bit of beneath the surface of what he wanted to see in terms of a contract this offseason And it looks like, he's come in, he's put weight on, good weight. Vrabel hinted at it's tough for him to keep weight on in some cases, where they're hounding him about that in breakfast because it's hot. They're losing quite a bit of weight. They want him to have to carry it more during the season. He looks physically better, and even in the practices without the pads, and what I saw, for instance, on Saturday, there is a physical tone to him that we just have not seen to that level on a play-to-play basis. And with the pads on, I can't wait to see the assessment of what those who are out there are saying about it today, because he's at a very, very nice start. He's right where he needs to be. Now it's just about climbing the ladder. And, for the longest time, I don't think he doesn't have many interceptions. Those picks for a corner now are going to come off of tip passes. They're going to come off of pressure from the defensive line. They're going to come off of one guy getting a hand on the football on a pass deflection and another guy being in the right place at the right time. It's coming off a film study. And then it's just a grind. It is a play-to-play battle. And the guy I think of is Malcolm Butler. He's a battler. And he gets burned one play. He gives up a pass right down in distance. Next play, he's in there like a boxer fighting yet again. They want Fulton to be that guy, that nuisance. And I like so far how he's approached all this in contract year.
Yeah, I do too. Jonathan Hutton is with us from Outkick. And when I look at somebody like Fulton, the fact that you now have DeAndre Hopkins on the other side as a wide receiver, how much is that going to help him as he's going against one of the top-tier receivers every day in practice, and how that can translate to the games that they're going to play this year?
It's going to help him a ton as long as he has the same approach day to day, right? Like, it's no different than this interior offensive line going against Jeffrey Simmons on a day-to-day basis. If Landry and Arden Key and Weaver continue their progression, either coming back to the field or their progression in this defense, and Key's standpoint, that should help the edges as well in this offense. Point being, you can practice against whoever you want to practice against. The mentality, the mindset, and the professionalism has to be there from the other end as well. And those two things can meet up. Fulton is extremely talented. First and foremost, he has to do the right things right now in the training room as much as anything else to just ensure that he stays on the field as much as possible. This is the grind, the hurry up and wait type deal where we get all pumped up for the NFL regular season, and we'll see the first preseason game where the starters barely play, if at all. And then there's this slowdown effect where you're like, man, just hurry up and get the season here. Meanwhile, those guys are still practicing every day. Fulton's just got to make sure that he's available to practice every day against Hopkins whenever he's practicing right now. And right now, Hopkins has been everything and then some for what they signed and who they hoped he would be.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jonathan. I mean, he has fit the part. Some of the catches he's made on the sidelines, I mean, you just get excited for that. But,
it looks like old Hopkins. It looks like the vintage DeAndre Hopkins that we've seen flashes of this the last 2 years. But, again, he's either been hurt or he's been suspended, so he hasn't seen that full season. And Chase, when he has seen the full season, he's seen the end zone quite a bit. So if he's this type player, the Titans are in great shape in terms of their number one and number two, because Hopkins has looked like a number one guy through the first weekend of camp.
Traylon Burks sat down with our midday show on Friday, and Caroline made the comment that, she looked at him and just forgot how big he was. And he almost looks bigger. He looks leaner. Like, he looks the part of being a wide receiver in the NFL. And, Derek kind of asked him what the biggest difference in last offseason and this offseason, and he noted, he was training for the combine last year and not doing that this year. The point is, he seems much more confident. He looks confident on the field and looks like he's ready to grab the reins and compete with DeAndre Hopkins to be the number one receiver on this team. How dangerous do you think he can be for the Titans offense?
Oh, he can be everything and then some from what we saw at Arkansas. The biggest difference that I see is just the first full off season for an NFL rookie going into year number 2. You know, last offseason, it talks of asthma and out of shape and train for the combine, then let up. You know, train for the combine for exactly what he was going to excel out, and then let up. That did not happen this offseason. And that's just evident based on how he looks and how he's played and his attention to detail. That's the professional aspect that you hope to see in every player. And some get it, some don't. But the biggest jump, and it's a cliche thrown around, but it's also true. From year 1 to year 2, that can be the biggest jump in a player's career. And this is the sign that Burks is trying to do everything necessary to put himself in that position. Because also keep in mind, like, the off season for him, the entire off season, he's thinking he's the number 1 guy, and the pressure's on him to be the passing down option. It was him and role players. He could not just be a role player. He can't do that now either. But now he has a chance to be a number 1 because he has Hopkins there, and he can blossom into that type of player over a gradual pace instead of just thrown into the fire and just said, hey, you're it. You're not a number 1 yet, but you're our number 1. Have at it. Now, as long as, you know, things go the way they look right now, and they never do, right? There's going to be bumps along the way. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be issues. But look, Chase, if they protect the quarterback, they have now given themselves a chance to not just be a one-dimensional offense. And I think the mentality of Burks has been, I'm going to be the number 1. I'm going to treat myself like a number 1 option. And I don't think he did that going from Arkansas into the league. Now I think he has done that. And he knows his role. He knows the style of wide receiver that the Titans want him. He knows the plan and the staircase effect of what they hope he becomes within this offense. And I think he sees the path through Tim Kelly and Ryan Tannehill. There are a lot of things to be comfortable about with Burks and what we've seen so far. And I think number 1 is just his offseason didn't have any drama, didn't come with any bumps on the road, and it didn't come with any excuses. It was just hard work behind the scenes, and he showed up to practices, OTAs, minicamp, and now camp, ready to go on the field. That's huge.
Talking to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick, Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow, weekdays 2 to 5, 94.9 The Fan. So you mentioned if the quarterback can stay upright, so if Ryan Tannehill can get the protection, huge issue. So let's just say that this offensive line is not the best in the league, but serviceable, and he's got time to get the ball out. Well, he's got Hopkins, he's got Burks, he's got Okonkwo, obviously he has Henry in the backfield. In some ways I look at that and go, okay, you're taking pressure off of Ryan Tannehill. But in other ways I look at it as you're putting even more pressure on Ryan Tannehill because you've given him the weapons, and now he has to know how to use them. What's your trust level in Tannehill that he can use those weapons?
I'm totally fine with Tannehill when he has time. Tannehill – here's what I think of Ryan Tannehill. I don't look at Ryan Tannehill as a guy who, when given time and options, he's going to lose the game. Vast majority of what I've seen from him here has been the opposite. Now, there have been massive moments where he has made a bad play that affected a game in a massive way. That's just the quarterback position. But last year, with the musical chairs on the offensive line and with the hits that he took and the fact that he kept trying to play as much as possible until the very end of the season where it was just it was a lost cause for what he was going through, I have mad respect for him and what I saw last year from him. And Chase, here's the thing. The musical chairs aspect is maybe the biggest difference of what I've seen in this camp without pads on the offensive line. Keeping this staff, even with Robinson and now with Rand, Carthon, and it all funnels through Vrabel here. With the rookies that have been in recently, it's been, well, we're going to work these guys at a lot of positions. We haven't determined where he is yet. We're not calling him a right tackle. We're not calling him a left guard. That's what they've done with Skoronski. Skoronski is their left guard. And they went ahead and said that. And I think that's indicative of Ben Jones is not the anchor anymore. He's not there. that center guard triangle that is so crucial to all the protections. They are trying to link up those three in continuity and consistency on a day-to-day basis. They've got the rotating right tackle issue right now. They're looking for someone to grab that job whenever the joint practices and the preseason games roll around. But they're trying to have their five. And I think it's been a while since they started a camp and said, here's the plan, without saying here's the plan, because you can see who's rotating at different spots for the starters over the last few years and where the rookies are playing. You know, anyone from Radens to now Skoronski, and you can go back a ways too. My point is they are telling us, here's who we want on the field, and we're trying to figure out right tackle because Petit Frere, who, by the way, came in looking great. I thought, he really came into camp ready to go. And it's just unfortunate based on the rule where he's not betting on the NFL, but he's popped for 6 games, and they're trying to scramble a bit. Every team's going to have to go through this at some point based on that rule and how it's written and enforced. It's right tackle that they're trying to figure out and nothing more right now based on the health of the league, health of the line. And Chase, one final thought on that. You say, if they're just okay up front, they have to just be healthy up front, and I think they'll be okay. It's when they go a little deeper on this line, like they're already doing currently at right tackle, that's where you have a lot of concern because Ben Jones, with the communication and the how vocal he was on the field and on the sideline on the bench, and just how he knew every player's role. Every center has to do that. Every player knew that role. Every player knew they could go to him to find out what they're doing, how to block this assignment, the audible at the line, things like that. That is so big for what they want to do up front with the run game first, and then everything plays off of that. And that's going to help Tannehill tremendously if they can get that going because he and Hopkins and Burks already have a nice rapport. Hopkins is already adjusting to certain blitz patterns and schemes that he's seen, and they're coming away with completions and moving the chains. They did not have that last year, but what they also didn't have last year was pass protection, and we just don't know about that line until the pass start popping.
Real quick, I just want to get your thoughts on this Jonathan Taylor situation with the back and forth between the agent and Jim Irsay. Now he's reportedly asked for a trade. How big is this for the division, and ultimately what do you see happening?
Well, it's big. It's big for the Colts from the mentality of what they preach internally. Big for the division, I'm not sure because I don't know about Richardson in his rookie year yet. Just the tenor and tone of the locker room is going to be interesting. But Taylor's going to have to play. I mean, he's going to get fined $40,000 or $50,000 based on his tenure in the league per day of every practice he misses, Chase. Or they're going to put him on this non-football injury, and he's not going to get paid either way because it's something that happened off the field with his contract, and he's saying it's not the case. The running backs, I agree with their overall point at the very top of the pay scale. But the problem is the vast majority of the position is making far less than that, and they're looking for an opportunity they would beg to get the franchise tag. They would beg to go into a year where they have an opportunity to get a second contract elsewhere. And that's the problem. Like it's only for a very small group of players at the position at the very top that are bickering over top money. And I understand what they're saying. They're very hard to replace, but the rest of the guys are playing anyway. Tony Pollard is happy to play on the $10 million tag because he's coming off a contract where he made $3 million total off of his contract, and now he's tagged for 10. Meanwhile, Saquon's making 20 plus over his contract, and he's getting tagged for 10. I understand what Barkley did. Barkley signed anyway for $11 million, and it's just the wrong timing to use this type of come together and let's band together because the season's here and guys don't want to get fined, and they do want that weekly game check. They're going to play, and the Zoom call well after the fact of any deadlines that were there for the contract extension did no good, and now so does the chatter. The chatter does no good right now because the season's here, and if you want to play, we'll see you at camp on Monday morning. If not, we'll put you on the non-football injury list. It's just the wrong way to go about it, and it goes back to my overriding point. Like the NFLPA negotiated this, and the timing of it is just all very confusing. It's just not a very well-run union in terms of how all that goes.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. Hut, appreciate it as always, my friend, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good. Stay as cool as possible. I know it's very difficult to do even in the shade, Chase, and I always enjoy this, and hopefully next week or so I'll be out there with you.
Looking forward to it. Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow is the show 2 to 5 weekdays on 94.9 The Fan. You can go check them out. Coming up next, we'll put a bow on things from training camp, and I'll give a few more thoughts on Jonathan Taylor. Will he get traded, or will they ultimately get this worked out in Indianapolis? We'll discuss that next. But right now, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see All-American Rejects at Municipal Auditorium on August 25th. Be caller number 5 at 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to see All-American Rejects at Municipal Auditorium on August 25th here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Here we go, in and out of the huddle.
Training camp is underway in the Music City.
We want to try to make sure that we're developing a team.
And we have you covered.
Could Peter Skoronsky be an option at tackle?
How quickly can DeAndre Hopkins get going?
We'll be broadcasting live from training camp with the latest news and storylines from practice.
Ryan Tannehill in the last year of a contract.
It's a different team. It's a different roster.
Training camp coverage is brought to you by the Simmons Bank Open, Caudill Vet Clinic, and Parman Energy on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, we are changing the game. Superbook Sports wants you to stay hot this summer. They are the most trusted name in sports betting with a direct line to Las Vegas. And right now, write this down. Use the promo code CHASE. That's my name, CHASE, to score up to $250 with their first bet bonus, win or lose. Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 simply by using the promo code CHASE, my name. And they got everything. They got week 1 for the NFL. That's already up. I mean, they got win totals for the Titans over under 7.5 that you can get. Women's World Cup going on right now. It's a big one tomorrow for USA as they are a minus 331 favorite against Portugal. You can get that on the Superbook Sports app. Just download that app today. Use the promo code CHASE to get that $250 courtesy of my friends at Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for full terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chillin' all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Will they find a home? Sponsored by Geico. Susan has always wanted to live in a chateau. I like a certain je ne sais quoi. While Jake is more into the Cape Cod style home.
It's a classic look.
Compromise is tough, but these two won't have to compromise when they bundle home and car insurance with Geico. It's easy, and they could save even more. In the end, Susan and Jake found a Cape Cod style home where they will only speak French.
Bonjour, je t'aime, merci beaucoup, and cordon bleu.
You'll get better with time. Bundling without compromise at geico.com.
Hey, do you need to listen on the go? Download the Game Nashville app from your app store today, and you can listen to us anywhere in the world. It's that simple. What an age we live in.
Chase McCabe on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Yeah, it was a dramatic scene last night. I was at Colts practice. There was, thousands of fans there. It was about to end. I got word that the meeting with Jim Irsay on his bus and Jonathan Taylor, star running back, was over. I knew that on that bus, the discussion was going to be the trade request that Jonathan Taylor actually put in a couple days before, presented it to Irsay, wanted to get a direct answer. So I was about ready to report what I ended up reporting, which was that star running back Jonathan Taylor requested a trade. And Jim Irsay was talking to reporters about 20 feet to my right, waited for that to end, then reported the story, and then saw all the reaction with Irsay then talking to Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated saying he did not plan to trade Jonathan Taylor. So that is where this all stands. So much discussion over the last couple weeks about the running back position. Jonathan Taylor wants a new contract commensurate with his abilities. The Colts, in a little bit of transition here, have not made an offer to him for a new contract. He then asked to be traded. They have then said they do not want to trade him. It is a standoff. It's a stalemate. I don't know which way it's going to go, but this is a relationship that is not in a very good place concerning the Colts and maybe their best player.
That was Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, discussing the Jonathan Taylor situation. And I feel like, you have a player wanting a new contract with a normal team, and then you have a player wanting a new contract with a Jim Irsay-owned team, and it just adds to the intrigue. I mean, Irsay quoted in The Athletic saying, "If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us. The league goes on. We know that. The National Football League rolls on. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be a part of it." But then you got the back and forth between Irsay and the agent over the whole situation. And, as Hutton was just saying, unfortunately, I don't think Taylor has a lot of leverage. And he's going to get fined for any time he misses. And then there's this thing that if he has back pain, they can put him on the NFI list, then they don't have to pay him at all. And it's a crappy situation for him. But at the same time, that's just kind of where we're at when it comes to not only running backs, but just the leverage that the owners have over the players at this point. He does deserve a new contract. He's outplayed his rookie deal, but at the same time, there's a process you have to go through. And if the Colts are in this transition, like Rappaport said, which they are, whether you want to call it a rebuild, a transition, what is Anthony Richardson going to be in his rookie year? Is he going to be the starter in his rookie year? Taylor, unfortunately, I think is going to have to show up and just do his thing and then hope for the best in the offseason. But I thought Hutton made a good point, too, that while I understand the running backs and their position and wanting to be valued more, doing this whole thing right now, the timing's off. I mean, training camp's begun. You're kind of got what you got at this point. And so I'd love to see it change for them. I think a lot of that is going to come from negotiations with the CBA, and they're going to need better leadership from that standpoint and be able to fight for themselves, and that's how they're going to get that. But right now, ultimately, the market is dictating what this is. Practice seems to be, I guess still going. I just saw they were doing the special teams period. Kind of looking at Twitter, it's hard for me to see today because they're on the far field. Kind of hard for me to see what's going on. I had the kickers and punters out in front of me throughout practice, so I was kind of watching some of that. But I know in team period, it was kind of a mixed bag of defense making some good plays, offense making some good plays. We saw in 7-on-7 that there was the Tannehill threw an interception to Sean Murphy-Bunting. Murphy Bunting is someone that I'm kind of curious of what he adds to the secondary. Pulling up kind of the report here on kicker. Teron Davenport said Caleb Shudak was good from 42, 39, and 45. He missed from 38, was wide right. So take that for what you will. As I continue to sit here and worry about kicker, but what's hilarious too is watching Shudak and Trey Wolf trade kicks back and forth here on the field that's in front of us. Trey Wolf is very, very tall, and Shudak is not. So it's like Andre the Giant and Rey Mysterio Jr., to use the wrestling reference when watching those two. But the kicking battle will certainly continue. Christian Fulton, somebody we talked about quite a bit today, is going to join Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace coming up in just a few minutes from training camp whenever practice wraps up, which should be shortly. But I'm curious to hear what Fulton has to say. As Mike Vrabel said on Saturday, he likes how he's looking physically. It's all about consistency when it comes to Christian Fulton and where he can take the next step in his career. He's been inconsistent. That's the best way to put it. Health has had a lot to do with that. But he's going to be somebody that they're going to be looking at to make some plays in the secondary, because the secondary, as we talked about earlier, if you're trying to find a weak point on this defense, on this team, that's one of them. Offensive line continues to be the number one question mark, but the defensive backs certainly have to do more when it comes to this Titans team. That is going to do it for us today at Titans training camp at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, and our thanks to Simmons Bank Open, Perman Energy, and Cottle Vet Clinic. But do not go anywhere. Caroline is right here, raring to go. Willie Donick alongside. D-Mace will have the day off, actually. Christian Fulton scheduled to join them soon here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.